If the boat is twisted at critical stages, the twist remains forever. Look at the angle of the stern transom and compare with the angle of the bow transom. You can see they're not aligned here. It's got to go up at the right at the front. Up at the right front, just by moving the chair. Up at the right front again until it's perfect. A bit more. That's good. The centerboard case is really important to get straight in the boat, so we have to do some reference lines. It's marked with a top and it's also marked with the back. The back goes against the center case bulkhead in the middle of the boat. There's a center line there already. Just check that the center case goes in with a close fit to the bottom and the bulkhead. Remove any epoxy lumps that stop it. Now, measure 35 millimeters out from the center line on the bulkhead. On both sides, and same on the bottom. Measure 35 millimeters out from the center line. Connect those lines with a straight edge, and they provide reference lines for getting the centerboard case straight. There's some little problem here, it doesn't look right. So I'm double checking and there's a little mistake there. So I'm correcting the mistake before continuing. The centerboard case does not hide these lines. Now we need 3 holes per side. Reference lines. For the bulkhead, they go exactly on the center line and you only need 2 holes. Centerboard case in place. Straighten it up. And now put in some temporary screws. Measure the distance from the center line to the inside edge of the hole and transfer that line to be the same distance from the center line in about 3 positions. The acute angled end of the stringer goes towards the back of the boat. The square end goes towards the front. It only goes through the bulkhead by 25 millimeters. Draw the outline around the stringers. And then you need 2 sets of holes, about 300 millimeters back behind the bulkhead, and then a second hole 850 millimeters behind the bulkhead. These will be for the permanent screws. Okay, now for the mast step. Check that the top of the bulkhead is planed down to match the side panels. Plane towards the middle as you did before. Now check that the center lines are marked clearly on the bulkhead and the bow transom. The back of the mast step needs to be identified. And the front only needs to be trimmed. Do not trim the back ever. So that's the distance of the back, that's the distance at the bottom, and that's the distance at the top. Mark the angle and transfer them across. And then cut at the angle. This has to be a really, really good fit. Mark the outline. Mark inside the outline by about 20 millimeters. Mark the positions of the holes for the mast step. Put 4 holes per side for the fastenings. And then up the middle just 3, avoiding the mast step hole positions. There should be no space between the bottom of the mast step and the bottom of the hull. This is really important. If there's a gap there, it will be weak and the mast will come down, damaging a lot of the boat. Now for the mast partner, which is this longer piece. Make sure that the center lines are clearly marked on the top of the bow transom and the top of the bulkhead. Mast partner is this way with the holes at the back. Only ever trim at the front. Do not ever trim at the back. This distance is the top edge. Have a look at the next frames to see that the angle is cut forward, not back or square. This gives it a good fit underneath for gluing. Check that it fits. If any adjustment needs to be done, do it at the front. When the center line is lined up, mark the outside edges. Now drill some holes inside those boundaries, and at the front, do one in the center. Find the long screws and wind them through at the bow so the points just stick out slightly. Same at the bulkhead. Make sure the top of the partner is aligned with the top of the bow transom and the top of the bulkhead before putting the screws in. The screws do not need to go all the way in. They just need to go in far enough so that the partner does not wobble around. They are only temporary.